Welcome to the G.E.M.Series, powered by RocketLevel. On this podcast, we empower entrepreneurs to succeed by setting big goals, executing like a pro, and having a fearless mindset. The G.E.M.Series is all about investing in yourself. We're here to share the path to getting what you want out of life by sharing the stories of entrepreneurs who have done this themselves, providing thorough research from our team on what careers and habits are yielding the best results, and discussing the mindset it takes to overcome the obstacles that all future entrepreneurs will face. Investing in yourself starts with putting in the work every single day, and this podcast is here to help you do exactly that. My name is Blake Chapman. I'm the Vice President of the Ambassador Program here at RocketLevel, and I am thrilled to be your host for the G.E.M.Series.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the G.E.M.Series. Today I've got Rick Elmore, CEO of Simply Noted, on the podcast. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm stoked to have you here, man. And for those who don't know you, maybe we could just open up a little bit. Just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your mission right now.
Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Rick Elmore. I'm the owner and founder of Simply Noted. I have a pretty unique background. Kind of grew up as an athlete. Went to University of Arizona on an athletic scholarship. Played under Mike Stoops in the early 2000s for about 5 years. Had a good career there, and got to live out my childhood dream. Played in the NFL for 3 years, and that's a whole story in itself. But it was an absolute fun, crazy, wild ride. I got drafted to Green Bay, so right after they won the Super Bowl, so I was hanging out with Aaron Rodgers and Clay Matthews and all those guys. So that was fun. But also, I got cut from that team, but then was picked up by the 49ers and almost won the Super Bowl my rookie year. So really crazy. A lot of cool stories about that. But eventually had to hang up the cleats in the shoulder pads like every athlete does. And I got into corporate medical device sales. Had tons of success there. Basically everything that made me successful as an athlete, I transferred it over to being in the business world. Hard work, passion, desire, perseverance, strength, grit, energy, all the things, the intangibles that you can take with you anywhere. Rookie of the year, my first year. In the next 5 years, I was a top 1% or top 5 sales rep in the company. But in 2017, and this is where the journey gets really crazy, I had an itch I could not scratch. I knew I didn't want to be, in a corporate medical sales position my whole life. So I went back and did my MBA. And about a year into my marketing class, I had this aha moment. I was listening to my marketing professor about 3 hours into a lecture. Our classes were 3.5 hours long, 2 of them a night. And he was saying like emails like super low, 4%, direct mail super low, knocking doors, cold calling. And he ends the lecture saying, hey guys, what works better now, if not better than ever, is a good old fashioned handwritten note. The mailboxes are empty. We live in a digital era. Nobody's getting them anymore. 99.2% open rate. And I was like, man, I'm in sales. If I can get in front of my client 99.2% of the time, that's going to do something for my business. So yeah, there's so much to the story, but that's really what started and kicked off what I'm doing now. I'm the founder of the largest handwriting platform in the world. We have 400,000 users on our website every single month. We just got done building the world's only handwriting robot. We have 6 pending patents on it. It's really a game-changing product in our niche. Multiples and millions of revenue in our business. It's just been a really cool, journey to say the least.
No kidding. And thank you for breaking that down, because there's so many things that I want to talk about. I was kind of thinking about it because when I was doing a little research, I was like, is it weird having your physical stats out there on the internet? Oh yeah, Rick's like 6'5", I think. Or I think
Yeah. You know what? Maybe not, because I was always like, growing up, I was playing sports. So like we always had like the roster with our height and our weight. And then when you get to high school, it's all about your speed and strength. So, when I went to the NFL Combine, you want to talk about weird. It gets really weird there. They literally, it's like a fashion show for athletes. Like they literally strip you down into your compression shorts and they walk you down like literally like an aisle in the middle of all these coaches and what do you call them? The people that go out and recruit scouts, all these scouts. And they're like, they make you stand on a scale. They measure you. Like they measure your arms. They're like, Rick Elmore is 6'4" and 5'8", 262 pounds, hand size, arm size, torso. I mean, it's literally, I felt like a cow at like a meat auction, So
I hope you don't mind me. I was just like, I saw that and I was like, man, that is kind of interesting. But it sounds like you probably get desensitized to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, because you're like, hey, it's part of the gig, man.
And I owe everything, all my success to being an athlete. I mean, it teaches you how to work as a team, be coached hard, push through, never quit, compete.
100%.
I think the best thing you do for kids, I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, is to get them into sports. It teaches them to deal with failure, to overcome adversity. So I owe everything to my athletic background, my football background, the University of Arizona. It's been invaluable to my success as an adult.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, working with athletes, especially in the sales field, I'm like, hey, it's not every athlete, but a lot of athletes do have those. They just have that mindset ingrained into them that they're like, hey, I know what it means to like suck perpetually until I'm like great, and to get there, and it doesn't eat away at you, because
that's what you just said, like the great ones don't quit. The great ones don't quit when they're tired or when they're not good at something. The great ones are obsessed about it, and they'll go through the suck and they'll stick with it until they get great. And I think that's something, like you just said, it's really easy to kind of stand out, because some people will, there's stages of success. Like when you're learning something, it's really awkward. Like you don't know what you're doing. Then you go through the mechanical stage. And when you get the mechanical, it's really, really awkward. Like you're thinking too much. Like, my wife played softball, and like, if you're mechanical swinging a bat, you're never going to be successful at doing it. But then you get out of the mechanical stage, you go to the kind of like the confidence stage. And then when you get through the confidence stage, that's where all your success happens. But it takes time. I mean, the 10,000 hour rule is a real thing. It takes years, and most people can't even get through a couple weeks. But if you can get through it and stick with it, it comes. It just takes time.
No, you're totally right. And so growing up, I think I heard you were in California. Is that right?
Yep.
And was that kind of the mission, your first mission that you found yourself in it when you're young? You're like, I want to go to the NFL and go that road, or what? I don't know. Not that a kid is just completely thinking about like your entire life's journey when you're a kid, but I was, what was life like then?
I had very lucky. I had very supportive parents. Kind of had everybody has a childhood tragedy, but my dad passed away when I was super young. And I think that like lit a fire in me that's just impossible to go out.
Yeah.
I've always had like a competitive edge. Didn't matter what I was doing. I played every sport growing up. I skateboarded, surfed. I mean, I wanted to, do everything and be the best at it. I was not the best at it, but it didn't mean that I wasn't going to try to be the best at it. And
of course,
it helped me just, get better over time and stand out over time. But I was very lucky. I come from very humble beginnings. I would say a lower middle class family. Stepdad was a football coach and a contractor. My mom was a medical biller. But I mean, I felt like the richest family in the world, because my parents literally supported us through everything, unconditional love, always had our backs, was always at everything. And I think in life, that itself, can be a huge, benefit or a positive force in your life, because I always knew no matter what, my parents had my back. And that's extremely important.
It's so crucial, because you grow up without that, and you don't know how to accept support either, you don't ever learn that. And it's such a gift. I feel the same way whenever I talk about my parents too. I'm like beyond blessed to be able to learn how to like accept help, accept inspiration, any of that stuff. So I think that's incredibly powerful. And, whenever you're talking about going to Stryker, it kind of, I was just thinking, and I was like, man, I bet you killed it over there. Like I can just imagine you going over there, and I have heard some of the stats, but I was like, I can't think of like when I think of an athlete, I think of an athlete being able to transition to like a sales role and just absolutely annihilate it. But I wanted to hear from you. How was your head at that time when you're making that transition from the sports world into, what were you kind of thinking about?
I mean, I think it wasn't very good, because what made me successful in in my past life was literally killing like quarterbacks, being very physical, hitting, tackling. And I used to get, paid to be violent and physical. And when you get into the business world, you can't, you have to flip it like completely around. You got to be successful through strategy, your words, politics, and that takes a while to learn. I would say my first 2 years in the corporate world, on paper, they may look successful, but I was struggling. The only reason I was being successful because I was just working, instead of a 40-hour week, I would put in 80-hour weeks. If I wasn't, I would be doing stuff every Saturday and Sunday. I'd be hanging out with my manager. I'd be watching YouTube videos. I would be asking if I can go shadow somebody who's been 10 years in their career, what makes them successful. Nothing was really clicking. The only thing that was working was activity, because activity equals results over time. And a lot of my success, came from that early on. But my success really didn't start coming really until my second medical sales job, my years 3, 4, 5, and 6, when I had that confidence. So I got through that really awkward mechanical stage. I started being able to connect the dots, started to really understand how the business world functioned. It wasn't just about effort. It was about strategy. It was about being likable, building trust, building relationships, and having a good product market fit, being available. There's tons of reasons you'll be successful in business, but it took me a while to figure it out. And that's what I've honed out over the years. It's you're going to become successful over time, and over time, you're never going to stop learning. That's why I went back into my MBA. I wanted to learn something new. Right now, I'm in a business that I never thought I'd be doing. I'm a sales guy with an athletic background, but I have a robotics, software, and industrial automation company with zero experience. But I put myself in those situations to grow. You grow through what you go through. So I think if anybody listening to this message, you got to constantly live outside your comfort zone. I know it's cheesy and you hear it all the time, but it's so true. And if you're going home every single day in your comfort zone, you're just not going to grow. And your ceiling is going to be so low when it can be so high.
No, 100%, and I think that, I always wonder about that, because sometimes I think that something that can get in the way of people finding their success is being they go from, it's almost like the fear of your hands getting soft or something like that going into this work, because you don't understand that what was this physical violence that you had to take out on other people, it turns into something that's equal or more high pressure scenarios, but and opportunity to win and lose, but in just a totally different realm, and it can grow you in so many different directions. So you started, I think that's something that I always hear too, is if you have a good person in your corner to kind of shadow and follow along, it makes all the difference in any career that you're going into. So in those 3 to 6 years, were there people that you latched onto that were mentoring you? And then what was it sounds, well, actually, I don't want to project anything, but it sounds like usually I find whenever I talk to entrepreneurs, there's a little bit of a disenchantment with the corporate experience at a certain phase, so maybe speak to that.
It's true. That's one of the main reasons I got out of corporate America. I was having tons of success, making good money. You get the golden handcuffs. But I saw where all the managers and upper brass, C-level, guys were at. And all of them were divorced or, estranged from their families or never home. And I wanted to be a dad that could be around. My parents were around at everything, every practice, every game. And I saw my success was just going to go this ladder, and I was going to have to travel all the time. And I was why would I do that? I want to be with my kids. I want to be with my wife. I've been with my wife for almost 17 years. I didn't want to sacrifice that. Plus, I think entrepreneurs, I think they're born, but you can also become an entrepreneur over time. But I wanted to prove that I could do it. I wanted to be successful life after sport. And I didn't want to be known for the guy who was a football player.
Totally.
And then I didn't want to be known for the guy who just did what everybody else did. And my success, came off was a byproduct of somebody else. So taking a chance on entrepreneurship, was it back in 2017, 2018? It was much more than building a business. It was much more than making money. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I thought the idea that we had at the time was an absolute amazing idea because there just was nobody doing it. Just a really cool, tangible, personal sales engagement tool.
Totally.
And just wanted to run with it. We didn't have kids at the time. My wife was pregnant. So I was like, if there was a time to start a business, it would be now. I was like 29 years old and take the risk now versus when we have 8, 9, and 10-year-olds, and we're doing sports and everything. So corporate America is not for everybody. Not saying I would never go back, but right now I'm so focused on Simply Noted, where we're at, the vision, the direction we're going. I'm excited about what we're doing here.
And what was the timeline like for you, because is this an idea that had been marinating for a while, like for a couple of years, or did you just reach a point where you're like, hey, I think I found gold here and I'm going to go for it? I'd love to know how you how you made it happen.
That's why I went back into my MBA. I knew I wanted to do something else. And I think in order to find like your passions in life, you got to put yourself in new situations. Like I hated school. I just never was a good person at school. I don't know if I have ADD. I've been tested like 5 times and they always say I don't, but like I can't sit in a class for that long. Like I want to be out moving, Yeah. And that's why, it took me literally a full year of my MBA and to just be in a class one night at like 10 o'clock and just hear this guy say something. And it resonated with me. I was just like, that makes total sense. Like I'm in business, I'm in sales, like it's customer service, it's relationships. There has to be somebody out there doing this. So I jump on Google, like, oh, someone's doing this in the wedding industry, but that's the absolute worst industry to be in. Anybody who's been married knows it's bridezillas. They change the guest list all the time. They're stressed out. It's false starts nonstop. Plus they're one-time customers. Budgets are tight. I was just like, in this company at the time, they got $1 million to try to break into the bridal market for wedding invitations. I was just like,
hopefully you're not doing too many of the.
Yeah, they're a bunch of one-time customers. I was like, this is a terrible business. Like, why not go use this tool? And I'll tell you where the aha, like entrepreneurial seizure moment was, but like, why wouldn't you use this tool to try to go set more relationships or grow your business or, use it as like a booking more appointments, attract new clients, retain current clients. So the aha moment was after we had that idea, or I had that idea, there was another classmate of mine, we talked about doing this together, but he kind of faded off like within a week.
Yeah.
But
happens.
We bought it, because it's just time. It's so much time and energy. But got basically a pen plotter from China. It was like a $200 pen plotter from China, which is just a 3-axis machine that uses plugins. And I wanted to test it. I wanted to send it to clients and see what their response rate was. So we got this really bad plotter. I had no idea what I was doing. It took me like 3 or 4 weeks just to figure out how to turn it on and build it and get it just even move. But it took my family, everybody, my wife, my parents, like friends, like it was no paper feed. So you had to hand load it, press a button. Hopefully it would write. Yeah. It took about a month and we wrote 500 handwritten notes with this pen plotter. And I sent them out to some doctors in my territory I never worked with. I had Arizona and New Mexico territory. So there was tons. I had like 8,000 potential clients and I had like 400 clients. And the response rate was just amazing. Excuse me. These doctors would get these notes from me and like, they would call me almost like laughing, like, Rick, like, this is really cool. Like no rep does this. Like, thanks for sending me this handwritten note. Let's like book a lunch and let's talk about this. Like, and I was knocking doors like, hey, excuse me, Dr. Smith, can I book a lunch with you? Yeah. And now I have doctors calling me. So
I can't. So music in my ears.
I know in sales, like this should just be making you so excited. But yeah, these doctors from the 500 piece mailer, I got like 28 doctors to buy. It was $280,000 in new client sales on a $50,000 a month quota, 28 grand in commission. And that's like when the seizure went off. I was just like, and every entrepreneur has that entrepreneurial seizure moment where like adrenaline goes, excitement, right? And I was like, this is it. I'm building a company. And then, fast forward 5 years, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of sleepless nights and lots of hardships. We are where we are today, but I can test this to having a great product, a product that solves a real problem, a great team. I mean, our team is like a family here. Everyone's been here for 2 or 3 years or more. So we don't have high turnover. It's growing every month. There's a lot of, when you're working with robots and software, there's tons of problems.
Of course.
But I wouldn't trade it for anything. Just the personal growth that's come through entrepreneurship in the last 5 years, I couldn't match it in a 40-year corporate career. Couldn't. So I'm very thankful for this journey so far.
I mean, and can I just say, I think the creative brain and the creativity in my own brain is already I have so many visuals of this, this laboratory of robots writing letters, and just sending them off. I don't know. I just think it's such an exciting business too, just in concept, that I think it makes perfect sense. And it's incredible that you've taken the time to fine tune things. And I've heard a little bit about you're I learned what kerning was.
Kerning. Kerning. Yeah. No idea what that. Yeah. Nobody has any idea what that is unless you're in this world. Ligature styles, kerning, randomization, offset, jitter. Yeah. All these font terminology, metrics. So cool. We use machine learning. We don't use fonts, but I mean, that's a whole different conversation. But
totally.
That's why we're different. That pen plotter uses a font. We actually built our own handwriting engine that has machine learning. So it actually knows what it's writing. So how it connects. Yeah, it's really interesting.
That is so interesting. So tell me about because obviously when you first tried this out with the pen plotter and, it took a while to put it all together and you got it from China, that had the pitch of you're we'll book a meeting and, and you had another objective. But tell me about when you first started, I guess, going after maybe clients to use this as a service. When did you get a little traction and what was that?
Well, we're completely customer funded. So we don't have no loans, no debt, no investors. I was very, very adamant about making sure that happened because if you have to go into debt to start a business, you shouldn't start a business. You're already starting behind the 8 ball. I mean, 70% of businesses fail within 5 years. Why are you going to put yourself already, behind, the race? But, with my sales experience, we had to sell every single day to survive. If we didn't sell and collect money, we didn't reinvest the money because I wouldn't take out a loan. I wouldn't I wanted to prove that I can do this with, customer funded. So how I started this in the beginning, I got a 0% interest credit card from Chase Bank. They'll cut anybody, credit card for that. And I would just put stuff on that and pay it off, put stuff on that and pay it off, and that's how I funded my business. I mean, it's gotten a lot bigger over time. And, but yeah, I'm very adamant about building a business, debt-free, investor-free, because when you go into debt, you start making more desperate decisions. And then when you go into invest, like an investor, the direction of your company, it's all about making profit and making money and not what's necessarily best for the long-term health for your business or the product for your clients. So, not to say that this business won't need an investor in the future to reach its full potential, because it is very capital heavy. I mean, we have multiple millions of dollars just in capital equipment in our warehouse, and that's not, R&D, that's not, the website that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, so, in order for us to go to our full potential, we may eventually have to bring on a partner, but right now I'm trying to go as far as possible without bringing on some outside help.
Yeah. I mean, I align with that completely. Being bootstrapped is just, well, you can't help but see the other side of that too, which is if you take in all this money, it's not free. It's not a gift.
Well, the thing is when you do that, you start wrong. You just start throwing money at marketing. You start hiring too many people. You're operating in the red every single month. Versus when you're bootstrapping, you're trying to think about how you can stretch the value of every dollar. So we put tons and tons of effort into our SEO, and that's why we drive so many users to our platform every single month. And that's evergreen. It happens every single month. It's not an ad where you're paying for one click for X amount of dollars where you're never going to get that click back. So, we do tons of, podcasts. We do tons of, events, we go to trade shows and meet new people. You're making investments with your money that's going to last for months, if not years, versus, hey, give me $1 million. I'm going to go hire 10 sales reps. We're going to cold call and throw a ton of money at marketing, right? And cross our fingers and hope it works. Like if that's your business plan, I'm telling you, don't even start. Like you're going to be a part of that statistic, so start low. I call it the bullets and cannonball metric. I think it's Jim Collins or Tim Collins. It's the book Good to Great, where they talk about, how to mitigate risk over time or mitigate risk when in making investments. It's like you're on a pirate ship and think you have one cannonball and you're in a fight for your life. And you got to make sure that cannonball is going to sink that other ship. And you only get one shot. So what are you going to do? You're going to make sure that when you fire that cannon, you're going to do test shot, test shot, test shot. When it's perfect, you're going to fire that cannonball. And that's what we've been doing with our cash. So when we make an investment, we test and evaluate, test and evaluate, test and evaluate. And then when we feel confident that it's going to be a good investment, we shoot off that cannonball. And that's what you got to do as a self-funded bootstrap startup.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I haven't read that book in a long time, and I forgot about that quote, but I remember that really resonating with me because I can't tell. I mean, I've done it myself where we've been like, all right, let's go all in too fast or something like that. Because I think, whenever you are, it's definitely something to be cautious of as an entrepreneur, because there's this natural, quick start, kind of want to get ready to go, but you get burned a couple of times, you end up burning,
Yeah. Stop listening to these guru, social media influencers. It's all a scam. These people like, oh, get rich in 6 months, or, oh, it only took me 1 year.
Have you seen your videos on TikTok where people are like, what do you do? And then they're, and then the guys are like, oh yeah, I make $3 million a month. And basically, and it's like all these people. And then you go and they're like, check out my course. And I don't know, it's kind of funny how, I don't know why that's proliferating so much right now.
Yeah. I just think anybody, I would take advice or try to learn from anybody. I think, the ones that are great at what they're doing, they learn from others. So if you're young in a sport, you pay attention to what the great ones do, but the way you're going to do it, it's going to be completely different. Just kind of pick pieces that work for you and connect the dots that work best for you. But I wouldn't believe anybody, was an overnight success. In most cases, 95% of the time, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
It really does. I always tell people, I'm like, my greatest superpower is being willing to suck. It doesn't mean I like to, but I'm willing to for as long as I have to get there. If I think it's something that's worthwhile. Because I don't know, you got to be patient. You have to be patient and have willpower to be able to do anything. Because what you're doing is not an easy thing. It's just not. And there's no real shortcut to be able to get there. I kind of thinking about that. Tell me, what's your relationship with failure been over the years, and how do you typically navigate that?
So a number of you have probably seen the words RocketLevel thrown around a little bit here and there, and I wanted to take a moment just to explain what that is. So the G.E.M.Series comes from RocketLevel, who is somebody that I work with directly. And RocketLevel is a marketing technology company that specializes in meeting the unique needs of small and medium-sized businesses. So over the years, through strategic collaborations with national brands, franchise groups, and local partners, RocketLevel has become a trusted ally for SMBs operating in the market. And right now, RocketLevel's primary focus is to provide a comprehensive range of marketing solutions for SMBs, including website development, SEO, paid ads, email marketing, social media management, and just about anything you can think of. By offering a done-for-you approach, RocketLevel takes care of all aspects of digital marketing, allowing SMBs to focus on their core business operations. I know that everybody talks about this all the time. It's so hard to focus on the fulfillment side of things, and been an absolute honor getting to partner with RocketLevel throughout the years and be able to see them provide a solution for people that maybe don't have the talent right now, maybe don't have the time, and maybe don't have the playbook or the tools available. It truly is buttoned up in such a way that you can give somebody your high level objectives and get this stuff knocked out. So if you're curious, you should definitely give us a shout.
Well, when I was younger, I hated it, was afraid of it, didn't want to fail. Failure the possibility of failing is what kind of like motivated me. But you quickly find out when you're running a business, when you're older, like the only way that you can get better is to fail early and fail often. Don't, push it out 5 years just because you are afraid to fail. That's going back to what we were talking about earlier, is kind of making little small test shots, make a test, adjust, test, adjust, test, adjust. If you're not constantly doing that, you're going to have a catastrophic failure in the end because you weren't willing to make those small little failures in the beginning so you could adjust to prevent it.
100%. Yeah. And I think I even saw a quote that you threw out there one time, and I might be butchering it, but it was something to the effect of, do you really want, like, why wouldn't you at least try to keep failing rather than, do something that's scarier, which is realize your full potential. And that stuck with me a lot. And I was like, oh, can you imagine waking up one day and being like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
I couldn't do that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. They're afraid of being stagnant or complacent or just kind of sticking where they're at. I think, we live in a pretty phenomenal part of the world or time of the world, with all this technology, things that are changing so often. There's just so many possibilities or opportunities. So it's never been easier to be successful. You have all these tools that are free within your hands, and it takes a little bit of creativity, a little bit of hard work, a little bit of persistence, a little bit of grit, and then it happens over time. It's just, a lot of people don't want to go through the hurt, because the hurt does hurt in the early days.
It really does, man. And sometimes it's crazy because I was like, I found my rhythm as somebody that could be an asset to whatever my job was. You find your rhythm and things are great. And then what happens is you start realizing you have to lead other people. And that's a whole other thing. So how did you kind of adjust to, growing a team, and how do you keep them happy? I mean, you said they've been there for a while. Your turnover rate is is super low right now. And what's tips on that kind of stuff?
I grew up on a team, so I was always used to being on a team. My success was everyone's success and vice versa. I would never have been successful without having great teammates. They didn't do their job, I couldn't do my job. So, being on a team has just always become very natural to me. I think, what helps teams stick together is being able to be understanding, be patient, be there for each other when people need help each other out. It's not always just about hitting the goal, even though you should still be focused on achieving that goal. You got to be flexible in making sure that, everybody's going to get across that finishing line together, not just one person at a time. So if you go by yourself, you may go faster, but if you want to go a lot further, you have to go together. So to go together, you have to stay together, take care of each other, help each other grow, help each other, excel. And that may slow down the journey a little bit, but you're going to go a lot further together.
So does that sports, background sort of, apply to the culture of the company at all? I mean, do you guys refer?
Yeah, we're all athletes. We're all athletes here. I get it. You get it or you don't. And in a startup environment, you have to make sure the right people are in the right seats. It's a great book. I forget his name. It's Traction. Forget who it is, but that's one of the major things about when you're in a startup. Like you gotta, you hire. What is it? You gotta hire fast, fire fast. I forget what it is, but you gotta make sure the right people are in the right seats. And for me, I have to be around like-minded, hardworking, committed people. And a lot of those attributes are found in athletes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It seems like I've experienced it firsthand. There's just I've seen a lot of athletes come through the team, and I've always been just super pleased with how everybody's done. And they bring I don't know. It's just you kind of need, especially I don't know. It feels like especially in sales, kind of.
Yeah.
It just takes. There's a lot of aspects of the job that I think connect with this mentality.
It does. I think sales isn't everything. It doesn't matter if you're in sales or in marketing or in your relationship. You have to sell. You have to sell your wife what you want to have for dinner, or your kids. You got to sell them to go brush their teeth, right? So it's a basic human skill we all have to develop. It's just some people do it for a profession.
Have you seen your kids start to sell you?
Yeah, I got my son just came to visit me. He's right here looking at me in my window. And yeah, every day. What's his name? Grant Cardone, he has a book. I don't know if it's the 10X book, but he gives multiple examples of how kids are the greatest salesmen because they're relentless. They won't let you say no. They won't give up.
Right.
And that's one of the very early on things you have to develop as a salesperson is persistence. You guys got to do it the right way, right? But kids are persistent. They'll never give up until they get what they want. And
You're 100% right. So now you're here. The company's thriving. What's your mission over there right now? What's y'all's focus?
We're still in hyper growth mode. As you're an entrepreneur, you start your business. If you have a good why, you have a really good chance to make it doesn't matter if it's in a business or in your job. I've always had a strong why. It's never been about money. It's always about taking care of my family, making sure all those people who supported me for the last 15 years, they supported me for a reason. It wasn't somebody who was just going to give up. But now, it's about, we have a team here. We have W-2 employees. It's important for us to grow our business to make sure our employees can take care of their families and live out their dreams as well. So your vision, your dream has to get bigger because your vision and dream has to be big enough to fit everybody else's vision and dream in it. So we're excited. We want to keep growing. Obviously we want to add more people to the team, but it's about creating a better life for everybody who's involved because without them, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I can't really think of any greater impact than that in the world, because I've said, when I was younger, I always would be like, I want to do something that is related to, I want to play music when I'm 18 or something, or I want to do this, something creative. And I realized whenever you take a few steps back and you start going down this journey, it always typically comes back to, can I help people? And do I feel like I'm creatively engaged? Those are two of the big ones, anyways. And am I enabling other people to have a life of their own that's better?
It's I think what's really important as you become more successful, giving back is incredibly important because there's somebody just like you just starting out on the journey that you started. And if you think about, what happens if somebody like you would have reached out and helped you 15 years ago or 20 years ago? And I was lucky. I had some really good people in my corner helping me out. So it's really, I take it extremely personal, and not only to help my team and support my family, but to be successful so I can give back in a way just like those people gave to me 20 years ago. So, being successful, I feel like is your responsibility because you owe it to the next generation, to help them just like how people helped you.
I couldn't agree more. Something that I was thinking of that I was kind of curious about with Simply Noted. What's the strangest use case you've had for your
you don't even want to know
technology so far?
It's really weird. We have people sending cards to their, people their lovers in prison. It's really interesting. Breaking up with them. It's really interesting stuff. We tell people to say thank you. We think this is a great service for building relationships and maintaining relationships. So either acquiring, new clients. So starting a conversation, booking an appointment, or just saying thank you, build that relationship, increase lifetime value, get more referrals, get better reviews, all that type of stuff. But yeah, there's been some really weird stuff. We have tons of real estate agents who use us, mortgage, nonprofits, but just say thank you. I'm telling you, if you just say thank you with no strings attached, your business and your relationships are going to blossom, for years to come versus looking for that quick win.
Yeah, no, I've heard of other people doing just talking about the power of the handwritten note too. Dale, have you heard of that guy, Dale Dupree? He does I don't know, it was kind of a cool, I always thought his was kind of cool. He would write it out and then he would spill coffee on it or make it look nice. And he'd be like, yeah, this note went through hell and back just to get to you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, there's so much power in just doing something that makes because also you just don't know what that entrepreneur or that business owner is going through. They might be like, I am having the worst day ever. And it's just something that breaks up, the mundanity of life for just a quick second. And I don't know. I just think there's so much power in that. I also think what you touched on in another episode that I listened to a bunch of your podcasts before this, but you talked about nostalgia and the power of that. So is that something you actively factor in?
Absolutely. So, I don't know how old you are. I just turned 35, but I grew up without a cell phone. I didn't get a cell phone until I was 17. And we all wrote handwritten notes. And anybody my generation and older understands the power of pen and a pencil. Like in the 90s, that's what people did, is they wrote things down. And then the internet came around. So when you receive something in the mail, it is nostalgic. It brings you back, right? And you were mentioning earlier, it's like you don't know what that person's going through. I think the best way to build a relationship is face to face, or sitting down with somebody and giving them your time. But when you can't give them your time, at least you can give them the perception of your time, a handwritten note. They perceive that you sat down and wrote them something. So, when somebody gets something that's in pen, on paper, there's nothing like that today. Everything is tracked and automated. Handwritten notes are the last thing that you could possibly think that can be automated. And I think, it may be more mainstream in the next few years, but we're ahead of it. I'm hoping maybe potentially one of these bigger players will buy us out and they integrate us into their platform or service. But it's just,
I can really see that happening, because this is something that I've researched it before, and I've always been pretty underwhelmed with it almost makes it worse in a way when you can tell that it was a printed handwritten note.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, I was like, this is so cool. It's the real deal. And growing up, I have such a soft spot. I'm 29, and we were still passing notes or whatever it was. We would send literal, my mom would, I don't know if your mom would ever be like, all right, you got to write out your invitations for your birthday and stuff like that. It brings you back. It's pretty awesome.
It does.
Cool, man. I'm glad we got to talk. I really appreciate you making the time to do this. And, I was really excited beforehand, and I'm glad we got to dive into some stuff. Usually to kind of wrap up, I like to wonder about what is the best part of what you do. I'm always curious about that question.
Well, on the business side, we are creating something new every day, so it's definitely not boring. From new software on the website to new adaptations or capabilities for our writing robots. So it definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. But also, this is, a platform and a product that people really enjoy to use. So, when we're having those bad days or bad weeks, knowing that, I get phone calls or text messages from our clients just talking about how much they love or using our service, that really helps, when you push through those hard days. So that appreciation, knowing that we're solving a real problem, and that handwritten notes are making a real difference, that really helps, push, this forward.
Absolutely, man. It really does. Like what I heard, I'm sure you've been getting an overwhelming response similar to mine, and I'm just happy for your success.
Thank you.
Seeing where Simply Noted goes. The other thing I wanted, I guess, to follow up with too is, where can people keep up with you? You told me earlier you've done 160 podcasts over the last year.
Yeah.
How can people keep up to date?
Yeah. Just go to simplynoted.com. Anybody can request a free sample kit. Just go to simplynoted.com, and on the homepage, top right-hand corner, you can get a free sample. But on LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's my only social media that I use. And just connect with me there. Send me a message if you have any questions. I usually respond within 1 or 2 hours. Just really depends on my day, but I'd be happy to connect with anybody on LinkedIn.
Right on. Well, thanks, Rick.
Thank you so much, Blake. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to get the chat. Everybody, this was the G.E.M.Series. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the G.E.M.Series, where we're always here to share the goals, execution, and mindset of thought leaders around the world. If you're listening to this, I'm sure that you have some pretty big goals for yourself, and I would absolutely love to hear them. Actually, here at RocketLevel, we just launched our newest partnership program, where the goal is to, build a relationship with you guys. I want to talk with all of you coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. This program is going to be providing free sales and marketing training, giving you access to a massive network of small businesses, and even paying you to allow us to handle the fulfillment side of things. Over the last 20 years, we've been able to learn a lot about how to handle digital marketing for a small business. And frankly, we want to pass that along. After working with business coaches and consultants all over the world, we decided, let's make it formal. Let's make this thing happen. So if you're at all curious, check out the links attached, and please reach out directly. I would love to meet you all. Remember, I'm always a email, text, phone call, or DM away. Everybody, remember to be awesome and do awesome things. A whole lot more coming soon. Take care.